What I learned from the presser yesterday, among many other things, is they do not learn football lessons.
Okay.
So we're going to start with Cowboys questions that matter now that we've made it to Oxnard, and the practices are beginning today right during our crosstalk with the G-Bag Nation. First Dallas Cowboys practice will kick off. Now, I'm going to open this question up to you, Corey, to Alec, to the people, 877-881-1053, Frankel and Frankel text line, or the Twitch or the YouTube. So my first question, we're just kind of making this one up, but I think it's applicable. Are you guys excited, and is the fan base excited now that training camp is here? Because I get, and like Alec, I really want your insight as well, and I want the people's insight, because like I know we're here, and that can make it easier because you can just walk, like we're literally right at the practice fields, and you can just walk out there and see practice and everything like that. But for people who are back in the Metroplex or listening from anywhere across the globe that aren't going to be at Cowboys training camp, do you get jazzed up for yesterday or for this day in particular?
I think you know particular about me that this has always been my dream.
Yep.
I love coming out to camp. I don't care if they're hitting each other in full pads every day or if they're in shorts. I've always this experience of it all. And I think the information you can get, the stories you can get from behind the scenes, talking to some players here and there, you get some interesting tidbits for what I think you can use during the season. You know, this is the begin. Oh, this is going to sound so cheesy. This is the beginning of a journey, and this journey will last until just after January, hopefully longer. But you know, it lasts that long, and over that time, you're going to be able to see, did Javonte Williams, when he said this at the beginning of camp when we talked to him, did he accomplish that by the middle of the season? Or did this actually come to fruition? So those are the things that I get really pumped up for, is kind of hearing what these guys want to do and then tracking that through the season to see how that goes. But yeah, man, football season's back. And that's, for me, like this is where it all starts rolling right now. So yes, Kevin, I'm very excited for this part of it and looking forward to first preseason games, getting those out of the way, seeing how some of these other guys perform and who's going to fit where and what this team needs more of.
Alec, what about you?
It's a little bit tougher now that I'm kind of in the thick of it. It gets a little bit chaotic working all of it, but it's still exciting. The preface of it definitely is, because we actually get to put some of these theories that we've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks into action. We actually get to see results. We get to see some of this happen, you know, for me on film, because, you know, everything's been hypothetical, everything's been theoretical, and it gets so boring for me after about a month of just what if. I get to actually see video of this, and I get to hear quotes about it and read quotes about it. So, like, I'm just glad that this is reality now, and it's not just the hypotheticals. We're done with the Mount Rushmore conversations and blah, blah, blah. Like, let's talk about some real football. It's finally here.
Hey, at 12:20, I do still have one more fictitious conversation for you, but I get your point nonetheless.
I always used to, before I got into this business, Kevin, I was working IT, and I was reading everything that Mickey and Nick Eatman and Rob Phillips were posting. Like, that was my outlet. Was that, and whatever Randy Galloway was writing and whatnot. That was what my connection to out here. Listening to Bill Parcells on those press conferences, crunching on his ice and being like, why doesn't he just stop chewing the ice?
Yeah.
You know, but the thing about all of that was I was a person that was going through my life there in Dallas, and I was envying the people that were able to deliver the stories to me. And that's why I was like, that's what I want to do now. I want to go deliver the stories. I want to bring camp to everybody's house or their office, wherever they are. I want to bring that to them so they can get a little bit of an experience, try and give them the best information I can along the way.
Yeah, you know, and that's, like, I think that's where I am, because I see people that are texting in that are not excited because, like, for example, they don't think the team is going to be good. From the 806, I'm excited, but I want it to be about football. I'm tired of Jerry and the BS that come with it. I want football. And then from the 817, last year was the last time in my life it felt hopeless. I just don't care about the Cowboys right now. And I get that from the perspective of like either A, you just want the football and not all the drama. Unfortunately, we've all picked the wrong team. Unfortunately for that, it would appear. But I'm with you on that.
Didn't Jerry say that yesterday?
Oh,
he was like, no, that's all football.
Yeah, absolutely. And then for the other part, if you just don't think the team's going to be good, obviously, who am I to argue with that? You look at last year's record, or you can look at the last 3 decades of lack of playoff success. But the thing that I like about training camp, and I know it's not the same way it used to be, 2-a-days and blah, blah, blah. Like, that's rock on. I get you. But what you do have the possibility of seeing out here, and what I think that we'll do a good job, not just us, the entire station, will do a good job of presenting things that you see that could translate. Thought of 3 immediate examples, 2 that worked out, 1 that definitely did not. So back in 2014, they had the joint practice the Cowboys did, and Khalil Mack was lining up against Tyron Smith, and he just dusted Tyron Smith in the first play, and we were both like, holy crap.
Holy go.
And then Tyron Smith got really mad and like slammed into the grass.
He said, run
do
it back,
again.
run it again.
And he shut him down. But like Tyron Smith by that point had already been established very quickly as like a dominant player. And I know Khalil Mack was a high draft pick, but there were questions about the school he came from.
He one hand palm slammed him into the ground.
Oh, yeah.
By the way. The next play, he grabs him with his left hand, picks him up off the ground in his chest, and just and says, all right, next play, let's go.
And you saw right from there that Khalil Mack was going to be really good. We saw last year, we tried to tell everybody that Zeke looked slow as all get out. And so when they were like, we already know what Zeke can do, he's best shape of his life, blah, blah, we're like, no, we saw it in training camp. He looked slow. But then the one that didn't work out the way I thought it would is the last several years, back-to-back seasons, we saw Dak Prescott and Brandon Cooks just connect unbelievably in training camp. And I definitely was like, you watch out, this is going to be great. And it didn't translate to the regular season. But that's one of the things I like is some things you see that you think will translate to the regular season and they don't. And then there's other things that you catch before anybody and you're like, I'm telling you.
I knew this was going to work.
Exactly.
The thing I'm interested in there is, Kevin, those two never played a preseason game together. Like, we saw them do it out here on the field all the time.
Yeah.
But then they never did it in a preseason game, and I don't know if that's changing. So
Probably not, right?
The Pickens-Dak connection, will that be better because they work together out here so much? Or will they get some preseason action together? Probably not. But that's the thing that I want to see that. And they're like, no, we can't risk the injury. And I get that. I totally get we can't risk the injury. And, across the league it's like that. And a lot of different teams. Some teams are like, no, we're going to run them out there. Some teams are not. But you're right. We do get to see, man, no, Dak was dotting that early, or he didn't look great. Remember the year that he didn't look great? And we were like, oh, no, this is bad. And then he came out of the gates firing. We were like, what happened? What was the difference? It's like watching a preseason baseball guy, and you're like, he's hitting great here. Why is he not hitting great here? Or he was in a slump, and now he's hitting home runs.
I continually think back to the last couple of years of Tony Romo, and we've talked about this on air before, watching him walk up the steps.
Right there.
Right
next to our tent.
To his second floor room. You're like, there's no way that guy is going to make it through a football season.
Yeah, it was the slowest.
Unfortunately, he didn't.
It was one step at a time each foot. And we were like, I was like, Kevin, dude, I don't know. And then he didn't. And like, these are the little things, man. And then you also get to see some. There are some moments you want health. You want health out here
for sure.
Those are the times where you're like, oh no, is he done? Like, you see a guy pull up, and you're like, oh no. But that is part of camp, and hopefully these guys ramp up the right way.
Now, I have other questions that go along with that. By the way, I just wanted to address this one, and this is always complicated for me to figure out as well. From the 901, it's because in practice and in training camp, they're only playing against air. Everyone looks good against air. The problem is they suck when they play against other NFL talent. That's just not accurate.
Well, the other thing, too, on the Brandon Cooks Dak thing, they didn't even draw the plays up.
Yeah.
Like, they never even ran the plays that we saw. Like, we were asking McCarthy, you saw this.
Yeah.
Why have you not run that play yet?
Yeah. And, like, I don't think that's entirely accurate. Like, when it gets to the playoffs, they don't win. That's a fact. But you see them against other NFL caliber players in terms of the rest of the team, and it can give you good insight into, I don't know, Kalen Carson's having a rough go. You know what I'm saying? Or you're like, oh man, Jalen Tolbert, well, maybe it works hand in hand, is really doing this or really doing that. It doesn't always translate, but you can get a good idea of who looks maybe better than you thought or worse than you thought, even in the intra-squads. But that's one of the great things about the joint practice as well, is because, like we already used the example about Khalil and Tyron, is you can tell.
Aaron Donald and Zach Martin.
Yes.
We got to see that.
You can tell when players are really trying in those in those team practices versus we're just D'ing around and having some fun out here.
And see, okay, let's go to this now. Let's go to this part of this conversation where we got a little bit of time. Jerry yesterday spent how much time talking about leadership from Micah and leadership from Diggs. And, look, y'all, all these guys, I guess for Schottenheimer, he's like, y'all got to if I'm Schottenheimer, I'm telling all the guys, you need to prove to me who your leaders are. You might have some surprises. Some of you guys that think you're leaders right now might not be by the end of this camp. I would definitely have that. Y'all got to. This is the time to show it. But Kevin, how many years that I was out here going, man, Micah didn't even participate in that drill.
Yeah.
And what do we hear? Man, he's just wired differently.
Right.
Or he's, well, is Micah going to participate in all those drills? Hey, every rep counts. Are you gonna be that kind of a leader where you're just like, no, we have to do all these little things, these little details to make sure we're ready for the season? Or you're like, man, I don't have to do that. I'm too good.
See, okay,
and that's something that I'm hoping to. Those leadership steps are important.
Now, I wanted to bring this up because I have seen this kind of like example a lot. And I'm going to see if I can change the example just a little bit. For the 817, being a Cowboys fan is like being in a toxic relationship. She keeps cheating on you, but you can't leave because she's hot. All right, I get that. Now, I'm going to use the example of the Cowboys are at times kind of like an up and down, potentially sometimes negligent parent. Because at least with a relationship, and I get that analogy, it's a good one, I think I would feel more justified in leaving as opposed to like turning my back on my mom. And that's what I feel like. The Cowboys have been there my entire life. Now, first of all, my mom is great. All right. I love my mom. She's won many Super Bowls more recently.
Nurtured you along the way.
Exactly. She's still winning Super Bowls.
But then you got old enough to get out on your own, and she's still there for you.
She's still great. And so, but I think of the Cowboys as like kind of a deadbeat parent at times. It's like they're there, they show up once in a while, but like when you really need them, they're not there. But it's tough because they're maybe they birth your sports fandom or whatever the case might be, and you have a hard time just moving on and giving up from them. But maybe you should just move on, and you can like choose your own family. But then there are other people like, you don't get to choose your own family. You were born here in the Metroplex, and you love the Cowboys even when they're no good.
Every once in a while, they show up with a PS5, and you're like. They're like, do you want us to help you plug it in? And you're like, no, Rocco will help me. And he's like, who's Rocco? And you're like, oh, and then is that kind of the feeling?
I mean, kind of. Okay. Or they're playing Madden with you, and it's going great. And then the divisional round starts, and you're like, I got to go.
What? But we were having a great time.
Exactly.
What are you doing right now? Why are you leaving me?
By the way, can I ask you one more Cowboys question that matters? Because I had a whole bunch of other ones.
I mean, we got to hurry up before this weekend.
How good do you think Tyler Booker will play as a rookie? Because we've had a lot of discussion about if. All right, so before first practice even gets going, you have to answer it right now. How good will Tyler Booker play as a rookie?
I think he could be not all pro. I think he could be a Pro Bowler.
Wow.
I think he'd be a Pro Bowler, Kevin.
Okay.
And that says a lot, considering the shoes he's filling. I don't think he thinks about that, though. You think he thinks, I have to fill Zach Martin's shoes?
He might have at first, but probably
or
not.
If anything, the way he talks, it's like, I get to fill Zach Martin's shoes. Like, doesn't it feel that way?
I could see that.
I want to see the power. I want to see the strength and some of the mobility that we hear he actually has that people say he doesn't. I'm interested to see if he has that mobility, but the raw power, I want to see that. I think he's going to be very good this year for us, Kevin. I feel a lot more confident going with him than I did with Tyler Guyton last year at tackle. I think I told you all year last year, prepare. He's raw, not a lot of play. I kept telling people, just be ready, but he's going to be, at some point, he's going to be good. I'm hoping Guyton's better this year.